how much time do you spend doing things that either draining to you or that, quite frankly, are not playing to your strength, that you're not naturally good at, so it takes so much longer? Well, what I want to get into here is, first of all, something you may have heard of called strengths-based leadership, which is about playing to your strengths. But I also want to dive into why that's not enough, and that there's an even more enhanced way to drive up your effectiveness and to love what you're doing a whole lot more. Hi, I am Ravi Tangri, and this is SOULgineering, your life and your work. This is about finding those tiny little pressure points where you put a little bit of effort in and you elevate and transform all of your life, your work, your play, your community, everything. How do you bring more heart and soul into everything that you do? And today we're going to dive into something you may have heard about playing to your strengths. I'm going to talk about why that's important, but also why it's not enough. There's something else that you really need to do to really elevate what you're doing and to transform your life much more effectively that you can add to that. So what is managing my strengths? It is about being clear on what you are good at, what your strengths are, and playing to those, not doing things that are not playing to your strengths. What happens, it's interesting, most people focus on their weaknesses. Think about performance appraisals. What do we focus on mostly with either when you're getting a performance appraisal or you're giving one? You focus on, okay, what are your weaknesses and how do you get better at that? Well, you know what? Your weaknesses are never going to become a strength. And if you focus on your weakness, what you will do is you will make everyone equally inadequate instead of playing to your strengths and reaching your optimal potential. Now, there are some weaknesses that you need to address. The book I'm going to talk to you about talks to them as fatal flaws, that if you don't have some competency at them, it's going to be a huge flaw in your work, in your life, but it's never going to be a strength. So the focus needs to be is what are you good at? And something more than that I'm going to get to. And then to find someone else that is good at your weaknesses to complement you. Some of the best leaders that I've met and worked with are ones who have a number two who is strong at what they are weak at, and they work as an amazing team together because they complement each other. So what's a resource for this? What I really recommend is a couple of books that's put out from the Gallup organization, so the Strengths Finder 2.0, or if you are in a leadership role, strengths-based leadership. And what these books really are, it's not about the book for the most part. It's a code that will give you access to do an online survey. It takes about 30 minutes or so. And out of 33 strengths, you will get a report that shows you what are your 5 biggest strengths. They will not tell you your weaknesses. Your weaknesses are not relevant. They do not matter. This is about strengths. And you will be far more effective if you can play to your strengths. And then all the things that you do that are not aligned with your strengths, that are in your weaknesses, you either allocate to other members of your team or you subcontract if you're a solopreneur, you send out, and then you can focus on what you are good at. You will be way more effective. Now, this is different from things like the Myers-Briggs or True Colors. Those are ways you think, and personality profiles and so on. This is about what are your strengths? What is it that you do really well? And You can do this for yourself. You can do this with your team. It's an amazing exercise to do with a team. It, it's funny. I have used this in many organizations, and it's something I will do where I get all of the people leaders to do the Strengths Finder. And then we have an offsite, and I have people bring in their strengths. And you don't need to get to this level, but in strengths-based leadership, they break the 33 strengths into 4 categories. And on the wall, I have 4 columns, and people write their strengths in large print on big post-it notes, and they stick it in the appropriate column. What I find in pretty much every organization I've ever gone to is there is one of the categories where the organization is so strong. They have so many strengths in that area. There's a couple where they're pretty good. They've got a lot of the strengths in those categories covered. And then in pretty much every organization I've gone into, there's one column where they have virtually no strengths. And when I do this, it's a huge eye opener for the organization. They realize the strategic weakness and the vulnerability they have by not having anyone with those strengths, because they've hired people like themselves who have similar strengths. But that's with an organization. For you, what you identify is what are your personal strengths, and you look at what you're doing and say, how do I align with these strengths? What am I doing that is contrary to those? So if you are really good at tactical, detailed things, big picture vision may not be a good thing for you to do because it's not one of your strengths. If you are more focused on tasks, building relationships and so on may not be your strength. You need someone that can support you with that. Okay. So if you are working in an organization with people, you want people that complement your strengths so that the team as a whole is complete. If you're a solopreneur, you need to know what you need to subcontract out and move forward. And what will happen is you will find that your effectiveness will soar if you start to focus on your strengths, because these are the things that you're really good at. So they will become easy. You will be way more effective. You'll be way more productive. And, your results will just take off. The same thing if you're even looking in your family. What are the things that you're doing compared to your partner or other people in your friend group or community? Are you playing to your strengths, or are you trying to help everybody else and doing things that you're not necessarily the best at, but someone else could do even better? So it's where do you focus your energy? And so working to your strengths is a huge, huge strategic advantage for you organizationally and for all of your life. But I've found it is not enough, because just because it's a strength and you're good at it doesn't mean you're passionate about it, doesn't mean you love it. And so I really believe you need to complement your strengths with your passions. And I'll give you my personal example. I started out as a nuclear physicist because I was a very shy, nerdy, geeky kid, and math was like a second language, and it came easily to me, and I learned how to work with complexity and complex systems. And you may have heard me talk about with complex systems, it's not about overthinking, over analyzing, over controlling. It is about finding tiny little pressure points. Things are so complex, you can't figure it all out, but there's tiny little pressure points where you put a little effort in here, a little effort in here, a little bit here, and the whole system shifts. And I learned how to find those pressure points. You cannot do it analytically. You cannot do it logically. It is almost an intuitive process. But it wasn't my passion doing it as a physicist. as I grew out of my nerdiness and started working with people more, I used to DJ at nightclubs. I ran the backbone, the 2,000 volunteers for a telethon for a children's charity, which was an incredibly complex system, 2,000 volunteers over 5 days and nights, where I played the same sort of thinking. I started to realize that my passion is people, not eating radiation. And so I went back to school. I got an MBA, and I was very quickly drafted in my first job. I got drafted into a team that reinvented the company across the country. And I very quickly realized that organizations are complex systems. People are complex system. And the same lens that I use to find those pressure points, I could use when we were doing organizational transformation to find those simple little pressure points to move things forward. And in the time since, when I'm coaching individuals, I can help them find their pressure points to navigate the complexity of their lives to find the simple transformations. So my ability, my strength to find those patterns was linked with my passion of people. And now I use it when I work with organizations that are going through radical change. All sorts of stuff is changing around them to help them transform by finding those pressure points. I can help them see those as well. And when I coach individuals about bringing more passion, more focus, more fulfillment into their lives, I can help them find those pressure points to transform that. So I'm applying my strength in alignment with my passion. If I hadn't found that, I would still be buried 7 meters underground eating radiation. But now I get to do what I love and play to my strengths. And it makes it so simple because it's something that I see just like that. So this is why I feel it's so important to align your strengths and your passion. And I found that with so many of my clients as I work with them to help them connect with what they are passionate about and align with their strengths, things just take off. So how do you start? Well, first, the strength side is very easy. Get the Strengths Finder 2.0, get strengths-based leadership. If you're in a leadership role, it'll give you a bit more background. Do the survey. You will find what your 5 top strengths are. And you start looking at what you do, and you shift around. Say, should I be doing this? Why am I doing this if it's not playing to my strengths? Who can do it better so that I can focus on things that my strengths can make a difference with? And you can do this with your team. You can do this on your own. If you would like help, that's something that I do. You can reach out always, and I can work with you and your team to reinvent things that all the leaders do based on your strengths and work that. So the strengths part is pretty straightforward. Passion, that's a longer journey, because it takes time, it takes introspection to really get clear on what it is that is purposeful for you, what it is that is meaningful, what brings joy to you. And, there's many paths to that. As I said, that's something that I do in retreats and in my coaching work with clients. If it's something I can do, if that pulls you, please do reach out to me. Set up a virtual coffee. We can chat at callravi.com. But that is something that you have to decide what is the best path for you. And the first step to doing that, finding your passion, is to make sure that you are allocating time. You're investing time for this exploration, whether it's with me, whether it's with others, to find what it is that you are passionate about, what your joy is, to be able to articulate that, and then to align it with your strengths, to say, okay, how do I play to my strengths in the way that brings me passion? And how do I reinvent all of my life, not just my work, my play, my relationships, everything that I do, so that it's so much more fulfilling to me. So I'd love to hear what your journey is. Please drop some comments and let me know, or reach out. Like I said, I'd love to hear how you found this work for you in terms of playing to your strengths. Drop me a note, schedule a virtual coffee with me. Let me know how this works for you. It's exciting for me to hear people on their journey as they discover what works to play with their strengths, to play with their passion, and find a way to find more fulfillment. I'm Ravi Tangri, and this is SOULgineering, your life and your work. I will see you next week. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
I've got the energy, it's all I need.